please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned. The God in the concrete. You know the sound. Everyone who lives in the city knows it, even if they pretend they don't. It's that low-frequency thrum that sits right at the base of your skull. You hear it at 3 a.m. when the traffic dies down. You think it's the refrigerator or the air conditioning unit from the building next door, or maybe the subway rumbling deep around underground. We tell ourselves it's just the machinery of civilization, the heartbeat of the metropolis. But I know what it really is. It isn't a machine. It is a digestion process. And I think I'm stuck in the throat. My name is Åsa Van Helgen. And if you are listening to this recording, do not look out your window. Do not look at the skyline. If you see a building that wasn't there yesterday, a black, windowless monolith standing where a park of a grocery store used to be, pull the blinds, turn on the TV, drown out the silence. Because once you notice architecture shifting, the architect notices you. Chapter 1. The Gap in the Map. I started 3 months ago. I used to work as a surveyor of the Department of Urban Planning. My job was mundane: updated digital maps, verified property lines, and ensured that what was on our servers matched the physical reality of the city. I was working on Sector 4, an older district known for its brick tenements and narrow, confusing alleys. I was cross-referencing a satellite feed with a survey drone's LiDAR scan from the previous night. That's when I saw the discrepancy. On the city map, at the intersection of the 4th and Harrow, there is an old laundromat and a bodega. Standard stuff. But on the LiDAR scan, the laser imaging used to measure distance and depth, there was something else. Between the laundromat and the bodega, the scan showed a gap, a narrow alleyway, maybe 3 feet wide. I zoomed in. The official city blueprints dating back to 1920 showed the two buildings sharing a body wall. They touched. There was no space between them. Mathematically, the alley shouldn't exist. I assumed it was a glitch, a calibration error in the drone. I grabbed my gear, hopped in my van, and drove out to Sector 4 to verify it manually. It was a grey Tuesday, the kind of day where the smoke hangs so low you can taste the metal in the air. When I arrived in the 4th and Harrow, I stood on the sidewalk and looked at the buildings. Laundromat, bodega. They were pressed together, brick against brick, just like the map said. No alley, no gap. I laughed, feeling foolish. I took a photo for the report to prove the drone was faulty and turned to leave. But as I turned, a gust of wind hit me. It was cold, freezing actually, and it smelled stale, like air that had been trapped in a sealed jar for a century. I turned back. The bricks between the two buildings seemed to ripple like heat haze on asphalt. I blinked, rubbing my eyes. For a second, just a fraction of a second, I saw it. A pitch-black opening, a slit in the fabric of the street. I froze. A woman with a stroller pushed past me, grumbling. I looked around, no one else saw it. I stepped closer, extending my hand towards the solid brick wall. My fingers didn't touch rough stone. They sank into something cold and vicious, like a thick, freezing oil. I yanked my hand back. The wall was still there, solid to the eye, but my hand was numb. And then, from that invisible gap, I heard a sound. Not city noise, not cars. I heard breathing, massive, wet, rhythmic breathing. I got in my van and drove home. I didn't file the report. It was my first mistake. Chapter 2. The Geometry of Paranoia. Over the next few weeks, I became obsessed. I hacked into the archival systems of the city library. I pulled up maps from 1890, 1950, 1990. The city is a living thing. changing constantly, but I found a pattern. Every 10 years, people went missing in clusters. Not randomly, they disappeared from specific coordinates. When I plotted those coordinates on a transparent overlay and placed it over the map of the city, they formed a shape. It looked like a mouth. And the intersection of Forest and Harrow, that was right on the left. I stopped going to work. I spent my days walking in the city, measuring things. I bought a laser distance measurer and a high-sensitivity audio recorder. I started noticing things that regular people ignore. Have you ever walked down a street you've walked 1,000 times and suddenly realized a door is there that you've never seen before? A steel door painted grey with no handle and no number. I found 3 of them in my own neighborhood. I put my ear against one of these doors on a Tuesday night. It was located in the back of a subway station, in a corridor that smelled of urine and bleach. I pressed record. At first, just static. Then, under the hiss of the tape, a voice. It wasn't speaking English. It wasn't speaking any language. It sounded like someone trying to speak using only the sound of grinding metal and dripping water. I played it back later, slowed down by 50%. The foundation is soft. The bone is good concrete. Wait for the securing. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling of my apartment. I live on the 14th floor. Above me is the 15th. Below me is the 13th. But as I lay there, listening to the hum of the city, I realized something. I could hear footsteps above me, heavy, dragging footsteps. My building only has 14 floors. I live on the top floor. The roof is accessible only by a locked maintenance hatch, and I have the only key. I grabbed the broom handle and banged on the ceiling. Hey, cut it out! The footsteps stopped instantly. Then a sound came from the ceiling, a scratching, slow, deliberate, like a fingernail tracing a circle on the other side of the plaster. Then a voice, muffled as if coming through layers of dirt, spoke directly above my head. Room for one more. Chapter 3. The Impossible Floor. The next day, I tried to leave the city. I packed my bag. I was going to drive until I saw cows and grass and open sky. I got into the elevator. I pressed the button for the lobby. The doors closed. The elevator descended. I watched the digital numbers tick down. 14, 13, 12. It stopped at 7. The doors didn't open. The lights flickered. The number displayed scrambled, turning into symbols I didn't recognize. Sharp, angular runes that hurt my eyes to look at. Then the elevator lurched sideways. Not down. Sideways. Like it was moving on a horizontal track. I slammed my fist against the emergency button. Nothing. The sensation of movement was nauseating. It felt like we were sliding through the ribs of a giant beast. After what felt like an hour, the elevator stopped. The bell tinged, a distorted, low-pitched gong sound. The doors opened. It wasn't the lobby. It wasn't my building at all. I was in a hallway that stretched out infinitely in both directions. The carpet was damp, mossy green. The wallpaper was peeling, revealing grey, pulsing flesh underneath instead of drywall. The lighting came from nowhere and everywhere, a sickly yellow hue. And the smell. It smelled of ozone and old blood. I stepped out. I had to. The elevator doors closed behind me and vanished. The wall became smooth. I walked. I passed the doors that had no numbers, only names scratched into the wood. Sarah, Michael, the boy with the red cap. I found a window at the end of a long corridor. I ran to it, desperate to see where I was. I looked out. I expected to see the street or maybe a brick wall. But what I saw broke my mind. I was looking down at the city. But the city was wrong. The buildings were twisted, spiraling into the sky like jagged teeth. The streets were flowing rivers of black sludge, and the people down there weren't walking. They were being pulled. thousands of them, millions of them, moving in perfectly synchronization, marching into the open mouths of the buildings. The skyscrapers were eating them. In the city center, rising above the smoke, was a tower of flesh and iron that pierced the clouds. It had a giant singular eye made of searchlights, sweeping the chaotic streets. I realized then where I was. I wasn't in a different dimension. I was seeing the real city. The overlay had been stripped away. This is what our world actually looks like. We're just blood cells circulating in a concrete corpse. Chapter 4. The Architect. I heard the footsteps again. This time they were coming from the other end of the infinite hallway. Thump, squelch, thump. I ran until my lungs burned. I tried doors, but they were locked. Finally, one opened. It was an office, a mundane, boring office with a mahogany desk, a laser chair, and a green banker's lamp. Sitting in the chair was a man. He wore a grey suit that looked like it was made of slate. His skin was pale, almost translucent. He had no eyes, just smooth skin where sockets should be. He was writing in a ledger with a fountain pen. "You're early, Arthur," he said. His voice didn't come from his mouth, it came from the ventilation ducts in the ceiling. "What is this place?" I screamed. "Let me out." The man stopped writing. He put the pen down. "Out?" he chuckled. The room shook. "You are a surveyor, Arthur. You measure things. Tell me, have you ever measured how much space a human soul takes up?" I backed away towards the door. "I want to go home." "You are home," the architect said. He stood up. He was tall, too tall. His limbs elongated, his suit stretching. He reached the ceiling, his neck bending and sickening angle to look down at me. "The city needs mortar, Arthur. The city needs bone to keep the concrete strong. We have noticed your potential. You listen, you see." He reached out a hand. His fingers were like rubber, rusted and cold. "Join the foundation," he whispered. I turned and ran. I didn't look back. I sprinted into the hallway, hearing the wall tearing apart behind me as he pursued. The floor turned soft like mud. I sank up to my ankles, then my knees. The carpet wrapped around my legs like tongue. I saw the elevator doors appear in the distance. They were glowing. I clawed my way forward. I could hear him behind me, a sound of crumbling stone and snapping steel. I threw myself at the elevator buttons. The doors opened. I dove inside. As he closed, I saw his face pressed against the gap. No eyes, just a mouth full of wet grey cement. "We are still building," he hissed, "and we have a vacancy on the 14th floor." Chapter 5. The Static. I woke up in the lobby of my building. I was lying on the cold tile floor. The night concierge, old Mr. Henderson, was shaking my shoulder. "Mr. Penhaligon, you're right. You look like you've seen a ghost." I scrambled up, checking my limbs. I was covered in grey dust. I fell, I stammered. Just fell. I ran to my apartment. I locked the door. I pushed the dresser in front of it. That was a week ago. I haven't left my apartment since, but I know I didn't escape. The layout of my apartment has changed. The hallway to the bathroom is 5 feet longer than it used to be. The ceiling in the bedroom is 6 inches lower. The room is shrinking. Every night at 3:33 a.m. the phone rings. I don't have a landline, but the phone jug in the wall, it rings. And the hum is so loud now, it vibrates my teeth. I'm recording this on my laptop, uploading it to every server I can find. If you live in the city, listen to me. If you see a door you don't remember, don't open it. If you hear breathing in the alleyways, run. And for God's sake, if you hear footsteps on the roof and you live on the top floor, wait. I have to stop recording. The handle on my door is turning, but I push the dresser in front of it. The dresser, it's sinking into the floor. The floor is turning to liquid. Oh God, the grey suit. I see the grey suit coming through the wood. He's here, the architect is here, and he says I'm finally cured.